Our story started in Chicago, dangerous city, but beautiful in its way. We grew up in the hopes of a life full of joy and happiness, but it seems like some evil force followed us and attacked us at every chance it got, filling our childhoods with drama, stealing any innocence it could until we were broken, full of darkness, lost in a world full of people with such cruel intentions towards us, with a smile on their face. Even though we felt like there was no end, no light at the end of the tunnel, we still knew that there was joy and happiness out there somewhere for us.
I was stolen away, taken across the world, isolated and alone, trying to find myself in others, helping and caring for others that didn't even see me as an equal.
I stayed in Chicago, looking for the person I saw in the mirror each day, surrounded by people that stolen anything they can from me. I was a ghost to everybody until someone needed something from me. Treated like an option and not a blessing, we still kept our light bright and fought to reach for what we thought was the answer, but still attacked, brought lower, and brought closer to death. But even with all the fake surrounding us, we knew there was a real one out there waiting for us. And then it happened. A flame was ignited. Flooded with darkness, we found a light, an angel, an equal, our twin. We instantly connected, and with love and loyalty, we built each other up. We helped each other find ourselves. We helped each other find the power within us. We learned new lifestyles together. We helped each other drop the things and people holding us back from greatness. We started a new path in life. Even though it could be beautiful, there are still attacks and mistakes. But together we stand strong. We overcome all, breaking generational curses, clearing the way for our children, and continue to build our family and kingdom, fighting towards our happy ending. We lost a lot to gain double, but through pain we are strengthened.
While in the drought, one of my sales about I'm standing out. When it's beef, I'm never standing down. Next door to Jamalo, while in St. John Apartments. Couldn't afford the rent, we moved with grandma more like an orphanage. The neighborhood ain't like I said, we came from New Orleans. Had some fights, I slung some iron in Baton Rouge, you recall it. Lee Lucas doing life, he left when I was 11. Had a job I did not like and started narcotic selling. I do for me, I feed myself, a cool not willing to help me. We either die, go to jail, so what the fuck could you tell me? Fully loaded Mac 11 when this pressure get applied. Got a brand new Glock 9 and I keep it by my side. Took the side of that little boy down out of hatred, no question. Draw your sword, get met with brute force, no second guessing. Up, y'all. Watch your mouth, no dissing me. You know we all saw it. You say I'm fake, that's your opinion, that's just y'all story. Just face the fact I was y'all blessing, but y'all ignored it. Your quest for fame had you distorted, not accepting sorry. I'm really that the streets vouch, the people vouch, the jailer vouch, all the niggas in the feds vouch. We held it down while in the drought, one of my sales vouch. I'm standing out, when it's beef, I'm never standing down. On a time and rate for everything he did for me, I was loyal. Got betrayed, it came a great disappointment. I thought we was under that law, but your nephew's an informant. Put the folks in my business, gotta set court appointments, gotta suit up with lawyers. Damn, this how we rockin'. They copyrighted my name and wanted $1 million. The label laughed in my face, I had to pay out my pocket. Young Money closed the door and ain't nobody want sign me. Travis Norman looked out, we in the park and we grindin'. If you want them wholesale, just pull up and we got it. Shout out to Miss Connie, my heart on Carolina. I put diamonds in the T.O.P. and all in the body. I ain't never change up, let's get that understood. I'm in that 70805, they don't show love in my hood. I ain't never change up, let's get that understood. I'm in that 70805, they don't show love in my hood. Watch your mouth, no dissing me. You know we all saw it. You say I'm fake, that's your opinion, that's just y'all story. Just face the fact I was y'all blessing, but y'all ignored it. Your quest for fame had you distorted, not accepting sorry. I'm really at the streets of
You are the Harris family.
I was trying to say, okay, so I am not back. You know, if for those of you who do know that decided to take a social media break, I would just say about a month ago. So no, I'm not back or anything. I'm still, you know, in that isolation, taking that time with my husband to ourselves. With our family and things like that. So this is obviously, even in just that month, a lot of things have changed in our life, a lot of breakthroughs, a lot of things that we you know, that we've come across and that we're dealing with, all for the positive, all for the good, all peaceful. So we're good, we're great. So yeah, basically me having to come out of isolation and to even do this live is due to my peace actually being disturbed while I was doing that process. And it won't be a surprise if after I make this actual live that you don't hear from me for a while, because more than likely I will be deleting the app again. I don't have the app on my phone at all, but for those who are actually family, you know, or real friends of mine and things like that, they already have my personal phone number. And I was meaning to call my cousins and things like this and let them know everything personally, but then I realized, like, okay, by the time I call all my favorite cousins and all my closest friends, I will be saying this story over and over. It'll take me like 2 to 3 hours to tell each person. So instead, I'll just make a video, and if, you know, anybody needs me to go in depth about it, you know, they can just watch it. But of course, the close people, of course, they're gonna call me and text and get updates and things like that. So this is just giving the premises of it. I'm gonna try to make this an hour or less. Got things to do, gotta get to bed. So just to cut straight to the point, a lot of people, I guess if they're not close to us, they don't know anyways, but people who actually are close to us, and I'm actually going to change the title of the, not change the title of the video, but I'm going to add something to the title of the video. A lot of people do not know about mental health, so I also want to make this in a sense like a mental health awareness video at the same time. A lot of people do not know what bipolar is, because the media has portrayed bipolar to mean like, you know, oh, she has an attitude, or she's nice one day, mean tomorrow, and that is not at all what bipolar means. For those who care to know, because your family may have mental health or someone like that, you can look it up. Simple Google search, simple YouTube search. You can literally do this in like 10-15 minutes. Having bipolar 1 or 2 or any of forms of bipolar, it's a chemical imbalance in the brain. So what it means is the way that you may otherwise perceive messages, or how certain signals or transmitters are determined or sent in your brain. This is a so-called healthy, normal brain. It's not the same for a bipolar person, which is why they have the highs and lows. Like when they get depressed, like on a scale of 1 through 10, it's like 100, and that's why it's so extreme, and people are like in suicidal range at that point. And then when they, if they're on the highs, they can get like really euphoric, slipping into mania and psychosis, which is when you start having delusions, hallucinations, and you're no longer able to make sound and safe decisions, which is why a lot of people, hey BC, I'm glad you're here, because I was meaning to call you, but I got to get this out, and it's just so much stuff. So even if you catch a little bit of it, I'm going to call you tomorrow anyways and tell you the rest of the things, obviously, that I won't put on here. So my thing is, yeah, the highs, you can get too high, have hallucinations and delusions and different things like that. So basically, I just want to say that my family has a history of bipolar 1. We didn't know. When my brother turned 24, he was diagnosed with bipolar 1. And that's because he had an episode where he was like having hallucinations, delusions. He wasn't eating, he wasn't sleeping, so we didn't know what it was. This is in 2011. Got him taken to the hospital after my grandma observed his behaviors and things that he was doing. Like people that had died already in our family, he thought they were alive. Things like that. Trying to go to school and it was a Saturday. Just things that didn't typically seem normal. Wasn't eating, stopped talking, so obviously he needed help. I was diagnosed in 2014. Same thing happened. But people who have bipolar disorder, it doesn't happen every single day because a lot of people, they're on their medications or they have a healthy routine that they follow. So people typically don't know unless they have like a bipolar episode or a psychotic break or something like that. So long story short, when my brother got diagnosed at 24, something that me and my brother had never knew, my mother let us know that my father had been diagnosed at also the age of 24. She told us the exact story, not just my mother, my grandmother also, which is on my mother's side of the family, but also after, I had only knew from my mother and grandmother that my father was diagnosed bipolar. Now it was a shock to my brother and I because when we were going through, my brother was going through his situation, got murdered in 2013, then I was going through it in 2014, so I couldn't call my brother and relate to him. So when we found out about my dad never shared it with us. He was always in denial. He said it wasn't true, that he wasn't bipolar. And we're trying to figure out, okay, well, when we go to the doctor, they always ask us, do you have any family history? Because they say a lot of times it's a genetic link. So typically you'll have a mother or a father that also has the illness like that. But he always is in denial. Oh, no, I went to the hospital for something else, blah, blah, blah. So we just, we didn't push the issue. But we knew that it was there, documentation and different things like that. So, I guess, and also you can see the signs and different things, in the behaviors over the years. So for us, we just, basically just went on from there. I just gave a little background so the story all makes sense. So, as we went on and, things seem to be fine because you can have bipolar and not necessarily have psychotic breaks. Some people can get their stuff under control. Medications, some people use substances, whatever they have to do. So basically, recently, I had got a phone call about last month. Well, just to give a little background of this, my dad he's remarried to a woman now. He's been with this woman, I don't know if it's close to 20 years or not married, but, been in a relationship with at that point. He's married now, but I'm saying he hasn't been married for 20 years or anything like that. So, the lady doesn't like me. She's one of those people where it was kind of like, even though she broke up our family and our household, my mother and father were married. And my mother caught my father cheating with this woman. And he had to go. And I guess from that day on, he moved in with her. And that's why I put in the title, like, I don't get along with nobody in my dad's family. Because, like, back when this happened, I was like 11, about to be 12. My brother was like 14, 15. And the thing about it is, I remember being there, all the nights and stuff when my dad wasn't there. And my mom was working 2 jobs. And, she was staying with us. And he would be, at the time we lived in the suburbs, so he would be in the city and wouldn't come home and stuff. So I actually witnessed all this stuff. I would be sleeping in bed with my mom. And the craziest thing is that the other day, one of my dad's nieces tried to tell me, oh, well, I was in college during that time and I remember things differently. I don't care how you remember things. You know what I'm saying? You ain't live in my household. You didn't come from my household. You don't know what I went through, what I experienced, what my brother experienced. And, okay, you guys, you get a little overwhelming. Yeah, babe, get them. You don't know what I experienced or, what I went through. But the reason why she said I remember things differently is because it's your uncle, you're going to try to defend him and pretend these things didn't happen. But I, being young after my parents separated, having to take care of myself, when my mom was working 2 jobs and my brother was older than me, I remember things very clearly because everything I had to do and take care of myself, I was already coherent. So I was just putting that out there just to say how people, when they're somebody's family member, even when they're in the wrong, they'll try to take up for them and try to pretend you're crazy and you don't remember things correctly, but it's my life and it's my family, but whatever. So yes, the woman that he left my family for actually got put out because he got caught cheating and things like that. He's with that woman. I say this to say, over the years, you know, I don't associate with his family because his family members were the ones who we found out that put those two together. Somebody in his family member, I can at least be nice enough to not say the name, but hey, you know who you are, actually put this woman together with my father. My father was married to my mother, had my brother and I, and destroyed our family, and you know, they got a divorce. So I'm just giving the background for a reason, because this lady, she always treated me and my brother like we were the inconveniences. She treated us like we were the kids outside of marriage, or like we was the problem. My father doesn't have any kids besides me and my brother. My brother got the same mom and same father. But I say that to say, growing up, I didn't know this lady. This lady told my father that we were not welcome at her house. Because when we were young and they separated, my mother would say, why don't you take the kids to your house to spend the night for the weekend so they can spend time with you? Because at the time, we were living in the suburbs, Bolingbrook, which is about 40 minutes away from Chicago. So my mother would say, well, why don't you pick them up on Friday and let them stay with you till Sunday so that they can spend time with you, since you live now. At that time, I'm sorry, he was living in South Holland, so it could have been like 50 minutes, 45, 50 minutes. So she's like, okay, instead of you driving back and forth, let them stay with you for the weekend and they can actually spend time with you. And he told my mom, oh, I can't do that because the lady said that my kids they're not welcome over here. And she said, especially Toya, because he said Toya really can't come because I know she's going to say something smart, or she's going to tell her off, or tell her about herself, or whatever. Which pretty much would have been true, because I would have had some questions for her, like, where's your husband? Why are you breaking up our household? I would have had some questions, that's for sure. And couldn't you do better for yourself and find your own man? So yeah, I would have had some questions. So basically, for his niece to say that the reality of my story is construed, that's ridiculous, because I mean, I'm not an idiot. If I'm like 12 years old, my brother's 15, in high school, sophomore, you think we don't know? We couldn't remember what went on? Like a high schooler who's already driving, you think we're that retarded? But anyways, I digress. So, background, wife don't like us, never interacted with us, blah, blah, blah. Her children or a kid, whatever, don't like us, never interacted with us, just faked. I met her child. I seen her at my brother's funeral, which obviously wasn't making no friends there, right? So if my father was with this lady since like 2000 or 2001, I didn't even meet her in person. He took me to her house one time before I left Illinois and went to Hawaii. Nobody talked to me, nobody introduced to me, and I left, went to my family's house, and I met them again at the funeral 2013. So from 2001, 2000 to 2013, no communication, never seen these people, don't know these people. You know, seen them again 2015. Oh, aren't we one big happy family? No, we're not. So they don't like me. They didn't like my brother. They didn't like my mother. They acted as if we were the problem. So I'm just giving y'all the background of why I didn't know what was going on with my father, because these people refuse to communicate with me, because you guys have hatred towards us because of something you guys did. Oh, the kicker. Now I'm going to save the kicker. Babe, I'm going to save the kicker. Okay, we're going to save the kicker. But that's just the beginning of why they don't like me, my brother, and my mother. As if we're the problem. But anyways, so, you know, going forward, so I can get to the point. So my father has been with this person. Like I said, they don't talk to me. I call his cell phone. We've been talking through my dad's cell phone for years. That's how we communicate. I got his house number because last year, he had gotten sick with the pneumonia. The first hospital he went to said it was the pneumonia. The second hospital he went to said that it was the pandemic. I don't want to say no words because I don't need my videos getting cut or deleted, but y'all understand. They said he had that put on the ventilator. Now, mind you, this wife is such a saint. His stepdaughter, they love him so much, right? At the time, I was living in Arizona. So my brother's, try to stay with me, one of my brother's baby mama mother. So we're just going to say his, my nephew's grandma, basically. She is really close friends with my dad. So she would talk to my dad. They talk every single day. before she goes to work and when she gets off work, right? So me and my dad, we would talk typically every weekend because he always worked like 12-hour shifts. So he would call me like on Sunday. That was our day, or Saturday evening. Or sometimes if he didn't work Saturdays, he'll call me Fridays. He typically did 6-hour shifts. 6 days a week. So me and her, you know, she would talk and check on our family and things like that. You know, I would talk, even if I wouldn't talk to my nephew, I would always talk to her. So she called me like, hey, did you hear from your dad? And I'm like, well, I talked to him a couple of days ago, and this was last year. She's like, okay, well, your dad sounded sick. I said, yeah, you know, he sounded a little hoarse. And she said, yeah, I told him to take off work and go to the urgent care. I said, yeah, he told me about the urgent care, and she said they told me a pneumonia, and he was going to go to the hospital. And I'm like, yeah, just keep me updated, you know, what's up, you know? And she's just like, yeah, okay, I'll keep you updated. So we're talking to him, you know, my grandma's like, oh, you know, tell your dad he needs to go to the doctor. He don't sound good, you know, he's not doing well. And then her name is Miss Deborah, which is my nephew's grandma. She's like, yeah, you know, we're all telling him, not all, Miss Deborah, myself, and my grandma, we're like, you need to go to the doctor. You know, you don't sound good, and if they said you had pneumonia, you need to go. And I'm gonna be fine, you know, I'm drinking Gatorade. I'm like, okay, but are you eating? And he's like, yeah, you know, I'm okay. So we're like, so me and this Deborah, we talk on our own all the time. So we're like, okay, that doesn't sound right. You live in a house with your wife, like, oh, and your stepdaughter is a nurse. So we're like, okay, well, why isn't your wife telling you and encouraging you to go to the doctor? Like, why is it that his friend, you know, the grandma, had to be the one to call and tell you, like, you know, you need to go to the doctor, you don't sound good? And my auntie at the time, which is my dad's sister, she called me and told me that his wife was saying, oh, he's faking, oh, he'll be all right, he's claiming and faking that sick S-H-I-T, you know, just quoting her, he's faking that S-H-I-T, ain't nothing wrong with him, he just want attention, basically, blah, blah, blah. So now me and Miss Deborah are concerned because and my grandma Mary, we're just like, okay, this is strange. He needs to get to the hospital. This was last year. It was about, it wasn't April, May. It was around that time. So we're like, okay, he needs to go. So we're calling him, you know, we're all constantly calling him. My grandma, Miss Deborah and myself, like, are you going to the hospital? Have you gone yet? You know, why can't your wife take you to the hospital? He kept saying, I need to get my medication from Walgreens because they gave him, I guess, some antibiotics or something for the pneumonia. And we're like, well, you need to go. Can't Janice? Oh well. Y'all know his wife is anyways. He's like, can't she take you to get your medication? Because he lives in the suburbs and it's like literally right down the street. But he was that sick he couldn't even drive. And he's like, oh, don't worry about it. I'll do it myself. And we're just like, that's strange. So a couple days later, Miss Deborah's calling me. You heard from him? I'm like, no. The last time I talked to him, I told him to go to the hospital. She's like, I didn't hear from him neither. So the whole night goes past. We don't hear from him. We're looking for him. We can't, you know, get him on the phone. And at that time, I didn't have his, I didn't believe to have his house number because I don't think he had gave it to me yet. So, or did he give it to me? I remember feeling like I need your house number because in case you don't answer this cell phone number. So we were like, okay, we need to try to find him. So Miss Deborah's daughter, which is my nephew's mother, my brother's baby mama, she was like, well, I'm going to go over there. Mind you, I'm in Arizona. So I'm like, well, I know the address. You know, they were trying to call him and stuff. We couldn't get him on the phone. So then like a day later or so, that's when one of his sisters called me and was like, oh, you know, your dad's in the hospital and they say he has the, you know, pandemic thing. And he's, you know, he's on a ventilator. And I'm just like, what? And then I'm like, well, how did he, you know, get to the hospital? Like, you know, what happened? And then, he had told, Miss Deborah that he had, left the house. Cause, okay, this is what happened. So when the sister went in the room, when the sister called his wife, she's like, where's my brother? Right? The wife goes, I don't know where he's at. You know, he must have left the house in the middle of the night. Like, we don't know where he's at. She's like, I don't know where he's at. I don't know when he left. I don't know where he's at or nothing like that. So his other sister, she ended up calling the hospital, which was closest, which was Ingalls, and found out that he was there. So what he told us was at like 2 or 3 in the morning,
he was doing so bad, so bad, to the point of, you know, he had, right before he went, right? No. On the way to the hospital, if I'm not mistaken, he called Miss Deborah and told her that he was driving himself to the hospital. Now, mind you, he didn't call beforehand, so she couldn't come get him. He was like literally there, almost there. So he got out of the house at 3 in the morning, got in the car, and hunched over coughing, drove himself to Ingalls. So Miss Deborah's like, what? So she hung up the phone. So when I had talked to her again, that's when she let me know he was there. But I'm just like, I want to say either he called on his way or he called right when he got there before they put him on the ventilator. So he's saying how he's, you know, he let her know. So, and I want to say he didn't get to tell her right away, because I want to say for like a day I didn't know where we would know where he was at. So either he told her right when he got there or he told her when he woke up. One of the two. So the next morning, that's when his sister, Miss Deborah called his sister like, where, matter of fact, no babe, he couldn't have told her then and there, because remember Miss Deborah called his sister like, where is he? Because I'm looking for him. And that's when she went in the room and was like, called his wife like, where's my brother? And she goes, oh, I don't know where he's at. So he must have told us after, because remember she was like, oh, I don't know where he's at. So that's when the sister called Ingalls or whatever and found out that he was there on the ventilator, this and that. So my point from that story is, for one, they want to keep trying to put this whole perception of his wife and stepdaughter cares about him. So why, when he was showing them symptoms and signs of sickness, nobody tried to take him to the hospital? Nobody drove him to the hospital. His wife said he was faking that sick, S-H-I-T. He needs to shut up and stop complaining. This is by his own sister's admissions in words. And also, when I would call my dad before he went to the hospital, I can hear her in the background saying little negative things like that. Couldn't make it out, but she was saying things to him like, you're faking, and it was kind of negative. So my thing is, that's strike one in itself, that if you cared about my father, now mind you, I didn't give out his history. My father has been a working man his entire life. The job my father was at living with her, he's been working there for 17 years. My dad works 6 days a week, 12-hour shifts. That's his typical work schedule. And when they break him down to 5 days, 8-hour shifts, you know, he's all lost and confused. Like, where's the extra work? He's that type that anybody, oh, Terrence, can you stay over? Of course I can stay over. Can you come fill in for blah, blah, blah? Of course I can. That's my dad's character. So to me, you say you love him and care about him. Why, if my dad is in the room, if my dad missed work, oh man, you better call the whole entire medical team, ER. You better bring everybody in here with their tools, because my dad don't miss work. Like, even if somebody had like a graduation or whatever they had going on, he would try to go to work first. He used to go to the funerals in the morning, remember? But he used to work night shift. He would work the entire night shift, and he had a funeral to go to like at 9, 10 in the morning. He would work all night long, get off after working 12 hours, and then go to a funeral. He wouldn't say, y'all, I can't come to work tonight. I got a funeral to go to tomorrow, or a wedding to go to. No. He would go to that funeral straight after. He would go home, change, boom, right at the funeral. So I'm just telling y'all how he would never miss work. So you say you care about him, you say you love him, but why is it that when he got sick, the fact he had to miss work, I think he missed 2 days before he went to the hospital, that didn't tell you nothing? This man don't miss work for nothing, because, to be honest with you, he wants to get away from her. He's already told me that he has no peace at home, and he has more peace at work than around that woman. So that's why when his family try to play me and try to tell me little things like, oh, he has a good wife and she loves him. Okay, so why is it that when he gets mad and he vents, he tells me how she treats him? He tells Miss Deborah. He tells us both how she talks to him like trash, how she doesn't cook for him, how she's always, matter of fact, he didn't have to tell us, because when I did go over there that one time in 2015, I heard her talking to him like trash and saying little things that she say. So, you know, when they pretend they're so close to him, don't try to lie, because all these years, we've always talked on the phone. About 4 or 5, when I was living in Hawaii, because he's working night shift, so he would be going to work when it was like maybe 8, 9 o'clock my time. So we would talk on his way to work, when he get off work, things like that. So he was always giving me the scoop, even about them, how his family used to treat him and made him feel like he wasn't never good enough, or try to compare him to people and always talk down on him, act like they're better than him. Oh yeah, I know the truth. Don't pretend like, you know, they're innocent, because they're not. So I hadn't had a relationship with none of them. Even when I was a kid, you know, my granny, rest her soul, on my dad's side, his mother, she didn't treat me and my brother the same. You know, we saw that ourselves. Our mother didn't have to tell us that. The hatred that was given because to our mother was dropped down onto us. Kids can sense that. They can feel when you're treated funny. They can feel when somebody don't like you, when somebody don't want you around, when somebody's just tolerating you. Not only that, they can hear your little side remarks and your little side comments. Like, we're not retarded. Like, nobody has to tell us nothing when you're experiencing it yourself. So after that situation, so he's in a hospital. I called the hospital. Mind you, I'm living in Arizona. I'm like, dang, I know they're not finna tell me nothing, but I'm at least gonna try. I know his name, birthday, age, address, all that. So I called the people last year now, and I'm like, his wife don't like me. You know, she doesn't even, once his sister found out he was in the hospital, you think she gave me a call? Hey, your dad's in the hospital. Hey, your dad's on a ventilator machine. Now, any of y'all tell me how serious that is for somebody to be on a ventilator machine. We all know when people go on ventilator machines, it's a big chance that they don't make it back, right? He was in a coma. Didn't know that at first. In a coma on a ventilator machine. So whatever hatred you have for me, original side chick, excuse me, whatever hatred you have for me, you can even give me a courtesy, even a text message. You know what I'm saying? You can give me a courtesy text message or phone call to say, your father is in Ingalls Hospital on the ventilator machine in a coma. So you telling me that you couldn't give me that little respect to even let me do that much. If my dad wasn't going to make it through that situation, you wasn't going to tell me nothing. I wasn't even going to be able to say nothing, how I felt, even though they wasn't having visitors at that time. Regardless, who wants to get a phone call after the whole map and it's something really, really bad? You couldn't even update me. But even then, you know, once I found out where he was at, one of his sisters texted and was like, I don't remember if I texted her first, like, hey, you heard something about my dad? Because his sisters was actually calling during that time, too, when he was saying that he was sick. So I might have texted her, like, you heard something about my dad? So she would give me an update. Sometimes I would hear something one day. Sometimes I wouldn't hear nothing for 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, whatever. But I was just grateful to get those little updates, and I would give them to Miss Deborah. Now, messed up thing about the whole situation is, I called the lady. The lady was compassionate. Like, I can't tell you his information, but I understand you're out of town. I know you feel for your dad. I know this is a tough situation for you. So I will tell you this. Yes, he's on the ventilator. He's in a coma, but he's breathing. He's alive. And I told her, thank you so much. And I said, is there any way that I can just call you guys every day just to get an update? I want to know what's going on. I want to know if my dad's okay, what I can do. Can I send him things? What can I do? Can I come there? Can I visit him? And she said, well, I can't give you any information because of the HIPAA law. And she also said his wife has something in place where you have to have the phone call, the password or the code in order to be able to get information released to you. Simple information. Is he alive? Is his vitals good? Is he okay? How's he doing? She said, I needed that in order to even have access to him. So I said, okay. She said, I told her, I said, his wife don't like me. Don't get along for some reason. There's some imaginary beef that I never was involved in. I said, so she said, well, try to see if somebody can get the passcode for you, because if not, you're not going to be able to get information. So I texted my auntie, one of his sisters, and I said, can you please get the passcode, because I don't feel like I should have to call you every day and bother you or call. That's it. One person I can reach out to. So I said, I need the code myself. She goes, okay, I'll ask her and see what she says. So she gets back to me about 3 days later, 3-4 days later, and she tells me like, oh, she said there's no passcode. That's funny, because I never told her that I had already talked to the doctor or nurse, whoever was on in the ICU, or I'm sorry, yeah, whatever it's called. I had never even told her that I'd spoken to those people that was in the emergency room. So the fact that they told me, she actually said, the wife has a code or a password set up, and you cannot access your father without this. So call them and ask them the access code and the password, and then you can speak to him. So either my auntie was lying, which wouldn't be a mystery there, or the lady lied and told them there's no code. But I think they all was lying, because how y'all was getting updates and information, right? Woman didn't even know where he was at first. That should tell you something in itself. How you married to somebody and you didn't even know that they wasn't even in the house? This person's sick and coughing and choking, and somebody got to call you on the phone, talk about where my brother, and then you go in the room, oh, he's not here. I have no idea where he's at. And then you, wife, don't even take the initiative to find him. His sister had to call the hospitals and try to figure out where he was at. Wife. And I need y'all to know the truth because something happened to my daddy. Not pointing fingers, but point. That's just this is just the examples that I can share that I actually know and have firsthand knowledge of. Can't no tell me he's been going through the last 20 years. You know what I'm saying? So let me get to this current story. So after he gets better, I'm calling all the time, trying to get information, and he actually was able to use the phone. That's when he confirmed himself. I said, Dad, how did you get to the hospital? Oh, I drove myself. What do you mean you drove yourself? And I asked him all those questions, when he got better. Had to learn how to walk again, get energy to talk and things like that again, get his voice back because of the tubes they had down. But thank the Creator that he survived that situation. But I'm just giving you guys examples of how these people do not care about him. Again, you have this stepdaughter who's a nurse, but you're literally dying in the other room, and her mother, and they're just kind of like, whatever, you're faking. Not saying they're trying to kill him, but... So then after that situation, to make things worse, my dad got bed sores because I guess, no surprise there, hospital wasn't doing their job of turning him. Because I want to say he was down in that situation, I would say about, I'm not going to really say a couple months exactly, but I don't have the exact time frame, but it was long enough, obviously, to gather bed sores. And I'm just giving this backstory because then when he got home, obviously you need somebody to help change those things and help you with those kind of things. I'll be on the phone and she would be complaining about even having to change, help him change out his gauze and things like that. So when people pretend like they're so close to somebody, okay, well then why do we talk?
She wasn't doing it because he caught an infection.
Right, and you're right. She wasn't even doing it because he caught an infection because he didn't want to have to ask her because every time he asked her, she complained. I would hear him he would be on the phone. He would call her name to come in the room to help him with something. What do you want? What do you need? You do it yourself. I'm not coming up there. Mind you, I am on the phone. I can hear all this. This is my ears. Nobody's telling me nothing. But I mean, not like we didn't know who she was, but the fact that I got to hear it, that was great. So he's going through that situation, and then on top of that, he has stress put on him because his main thing is, I got to get back to work, I got to get back to work. Well, get back to work, you need to heal. You've been through something traumatic, and then you still re-healing because you got these bed sores that are infected. You need to relax. So ultimately, he ended up staying home, I believe, about 6 months. Maybe close to 8. And he wasn't working. But I know he was stressed because he kept talking about how he needed money, how he had to do this, how he had to do that, and him not working. And the sad part about that is, why it almost seemed like someone was pressuring him that he wasn't working. And my thing is, you worked all these years, barely ever took a day off unless you literally was dying, as you guys just saw. And this person's pressuring him about money instead of worrying about caring for him, properly. And I have to tell this story. It's so sick and so sad because his own family, who's supposed to love him, is deceived by this woman's lies. Deceived, why? Because this woman pretends to be something she's not. She tries to buy them gifts and buy love, but that's no surprise there because most of them are materialistic themselves. And they want to sit here. The sickest part that I've learned through this situation that he's going through now is they are actually comfortable with bashing my dad. They're comfortable with believing this strange lady's lies over my father. They're supposed to be their brother who they grew up with their whole life, but they're comfortable bashing him and believing her, which is sick and twisted as it is. So after that situation, he was just basically telling me how he was stressed, this and that, a lot of personal things. No surprise there how they was treating him. I always knew that they were treating him bad. So did my family because he would call them and he would tell them. So fast forward to now, mind you, like I said, he went back to work. So now we're looking at April. Let's just jump to April. He had been back to work. I want to say he went back in what did I say, September? Yeah, maybe mid-September he had went back to work from last year. So I was telling him that he went back to work too soon, because he was trying to take those 12-hour shifts again. And I'm like, you still need to heal. You gotta because obviously he lost a lot of weight during that time when he was on the machine and stuff. You need to heal, gain your weight back, just focus on eating, resting, sleeping. But he kept telling me he was in such a rush to get back to work because He has no peace at home. He's not happy at home. And I can tell every time I call the phone, listen to this woman, how she talks to him, how she treats him. It obviously is not concerned about him. So I'm just like, okay, well, you still don't need to go back to work. You better get a hobby, go somewhere. Matter of fact, I've been telling for years, leave this woman. Goodbye. Bye. You can do bad by yourself. You got your own money. What you staying here for? Woman don't want to cook for you, spend time with you, hang out with you, talk to you like trash. Bye. I don't care what your family thinks. Forget your family, because they just as fake too. Because my father feels like, I don't want to seem like, oh, I'm having another divorce, or I don't want to smack a failure to people. Forget them, because they ain't got your back anyways. Just like I told Miss Deborah, I don't care if my brother was alive. There's nothing no stranger could tell me about my brother. You think if his wife or somebody called and was like, oh, I'm about to bash your brother. Who brother you about to bash? You better call somebody else. You done called the wrong person. Now you finna get bashed. But the fact that this so-called wife can call and lie on my daddy, and y'all sit there talking about, oh yeah, she said this, I believe that. That shows where y'all loyalty lie to begin with. How y'all gonna take the side of the stranger over your own sibling? And I'll get to that. Goes back to work. Now in April, I had talked to my dad, and I had to get out this backstory. I promise it's a reason, and I'm hurrying up here. So when I talked to my dad in April, he seemed fine, he seemed okay. This is at the beginning of the month. But again, we were going to continue our conversations on Saturday night or Sunday because of his work during the week. And but at this time, after the situation with my father getting sick, I had, moved back to Chicago. So after, and I was telling him, even when we was in Arizona, my husband was like, do you want us to drive? He said, I'll drive out there. I'll come pick you up. You can come stay with us or whatever. You don't have to worry about being with that lady. You can live with us, and, we'll take care of you, whatever you need. Oh, no, I'm fine. That's my house, too. I'm going to stay, blah, blah, blah. But he offered him when he was in the hospital. So when we decided to move back here, same thing. He let him know, you can stay with us. You don't have to take that from this woman, whatever you need. Let us know. Oh, no, I'm fine. Okay. So, we would visit. We've been able to see him since being back, of course. He's come over to the house. So basically, in April, I already was talking to him every day, and I was already living here. Came back to Chicago around the time my dad started working. So I didn't think anything was a problem because I had seen him, but I hadn't seen him maybe since like January or February because of the winter. We had got a lot of snow, I think, in February. So I had understood he lived in the suburbs. I live in the city, so he hadn't come over, for a couple months, but I figured, okay, it's because of the snow, so no big deal. So when we were talking in April or whatever, he seemed fine. Now, I had talked to him like on a Tuesday or Wednesday. Mind you, this is last month, April, Tuesday or Wednesday, and I wasn't to talk to him again until Sunday because of work. So Miss Deborah, again, like I said, my brother's son's grandmother, she called and she's like, hey, you heard from your dad? And this is not unusual, actually, because she had called me. She typically will call me. Like, if my dad don't answer his phone, she'll call me like, you heard from your dad? And I'm like, no, I didn't hear from him today. And I said, let me try to get him on the phone. And I'll call back. Like, the whole time he was in the hospital, I will call. But even before then, just typically, if she didn't hear from him for like a day or something, she's like, something must be wrong, because he calls me every day. On time, because my dad, he's like that, routine. So I'm like, no, what's going on? And she's like, well, it's not just that I didn't hear from him. She's like, there's some things that's been going on strange with your dad. And I'm like, well, what do you mean, like, strange? And she was just like, okay, well, your dad, he's for one, when I had talked to him last, he told me that his job had sent him home. And I'm like, okay, that's unusual. And she told me that they sent him home for kind of like some kind of a bizarre behavior or whatever. So I'm like, okay. So she was just telling me like, he was just talking about things that didn't make sense and, talking real fast. And he was just, didn't seem like himself. Like, by us typically talking to him all the time, he seemed like something had happened to him or something had went wrong with him. And I think a week before that, he had received the Johnsons & Johnsons, what they call it, jab thingy. So she was saying that she thought that's the only thing that she had noticed different about him. So when we were talking, she was like, can you give him a call? So when she first started describing the symptoms, I'm like, oh man, that sounds like somebody in bipolar manic, or that is about to be in psychosis, from my own personal experience and from what went through with my brother. So when I called him, he wanted to video talk, and on the video talk, he was just like a million subjects. Like, he talked about 10 or 15 different topics in like maybe 5 minutes, you know. He was all over the place. He was like, I'm tired, now I'm up, now I'm down. He kept getting up, kept getting down, kept talking about things that didn't make sense. And when I had told my grandma, like, she was like, yeah, you know, he called me like 4 or 5 times last week, and I thought something was wrong, but then I was like, no, you know, he does call me sometimes. And, you know, stuff like that. So I was just like, man, you know, my dad needs some help, because this sounds like he's about to go into, you know, psychosis. Like I said, a lot of people don't know about bipolar 1, but when you get into psychosis, you're having delusions and hallucinations. And a lot of people y'all see on the street that be like talking to themselves or fighting the air, a lot of them don't be on drugs. They just have mental health issues, and people just don't understand it because it's not enough education on it. So I was like, dang, you know, and just think about it. The fact that she didn't call me, okay, fat boy, you gotta go because you're moving a lot. The fact that she didn't call me last time, that upset me too, because it was like, okay, so now he's having problems again with a situation, and do you think his wife called me? No. No call, no message. She got my number, all that, nothing. So now I'm just like, okay, is this woman trying to kill him? Because he's having problems again, and yet again, I'm getting no notification of such. So after I had spoke to Miss Deborah, I was like, okay, let me call one of his sisters. I mean, no one called me. So after I had talked to my dad and seen that he hadn't been sleeping for days, hadn't been eating, I asked him, you been eating? He was like, oh, not really. You been sleeping? Nope. Just up for days. So I said, okay, well, let me ask his sister. She goes, oh, I just seen him the other day. You know, he seemed all right. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just like, whatever. Because, you know, me at this point, I'm just like, oh, y'all seem like y'all in on it together. Whatever it is, y'all seem like y'all in cahoots. So I'm like, okay, well, we finna go over there. So, we got the kids dressed. You know, my husband and I, whatever, we drove out to the suburbs. And we went to my dad's house. Mind you, I have the date in my phone, so I can't give it right now, but it was April. I want to say this could have been about 3 weeks ago. Or the end of April. It could have been the last week of April or something. So, it was like, what, April 20-something? Yeah, so, fat boy, you have to go away, buddy. I'm almost done. So,
It was
stop. The end of
a few
April.
days before my birthday.
Yeah, so like April 25th or 4th or something. So it was in April, but last week of April probably. So we got to my dad's house because I wanted to see him in person. And what same thing that stuck to me, Miss Deborah, was if you see this man not eating, not sleeping, acting irrational, doing things he never do, why didn't you call anybody? Why didn't you call his sisters? Why didn't you call his daughter? And Miss Deborah, you know, has been a friend of friend of the family for almost 16 years. Why haven't you said anything to any of us? So again, are you trying to kill my dad? What's the problem, right? So I go over there, and oh, mind you, I'm not allowed in his house or anything. I just know his address because over the years, when my dad would send me things to Hawaii, or he'd have his address on there, or if I sent him a birthday card or something, that's how I knew his address to begin with, and I always ask him, he tells me. And I know where he lives, and my husband's father lives like maybe 5 minutes away, so he know where he live and everything too, so it's not, you know.
That's another reason why we know.
Right. No, I'm going to tell them. So, yeah, they hate me because, like I was saying at the beginning, how growing up, his wife broke up my mom and dad's marriage by cheating, and she had a daughter, and at the time her son might have still been alive, and that was their whole situation at home. Broke up our household, said my brother and I was not allowed in her home, so we never had a relationship with them. I met them about 12 years later, seen them 12 years later after seeing them one time, at my brother's funeral, and then again in 2015. And the reason why she really doesn't like me is because her daughter, the relationship her daughter used to be in, and the guy that her daughter had a child with, he met me, we became friends, and he married me. So my husband has a child with her daughter. So that ain't got nothing to do with me. Hold on. To me, you can date and break up with whoever you want to break up with. You wasn't married to her, that's your decision. And on top of that, and I'm glad that I don't care what people say, because my own family, I have my own people who can attest to me. Like my cousin, for instance, my cousin Jasmine, she knows that I didn't have no stepsister. I didn't know of no stepsister. I ain't got no sister. Everybody know I had a brother. They didn't even know nobody. They didn't know that. You know why they didn't know they existed? Because I didn't know they existed. Like I said, we had no relationship. We never talked. We never saw each other. Meeting you at the funeral, 12 years or 13 years since you built they've been together. That's on them. You can't get mad because me and this guy met and became friends because you was treating him like trash and the person was treating me like trash and he didn't want to be with you, tried to want to be with her, wanted to be together. I mean, what you mad at? He married me. We got a family, and so what? Get over it. Move on. That's what you want to do anyways. Ain't got nothing to do with me. I ain't got no sister. Well, didn't even have no friends. My family's my friends. That's it. So you ain't make the cut. But regardless of the matter is, like my mother said when my husband first got together, you weren't even in the same situation where he left like a wife or something like that. He had already broke up with the girl, for one, and for two, you wasn't concerned about my family. When you actually was cheating with a married man with children and messed up their household. So how dare you get an attitude because of who his ex-girlfriend is? And we all got an ex. I don't owe y'all no loyalty. Y'all don't even know y'all. Loyal to who? Y'all want my family, my household. I'm not loyal to y'all. Y'all crazy? Anyways, so whatever hatred that you have for me because your daughter was a cheater and he didn't want your daughter and he got somebody better and married her, that's not our problem. But the fact of the matter is, if you love my dad like you claim you do, regardless of what goes on with me or how you jealous of me and my husband and our children, you should care about your husband and take care of him. That should be your first priority. You shouldn't worry about me. Don't worry about what I'm doing. Your husband the one in there sick and suffering and about to die, and you turn the other cheek. For whatever reason you have, that's your problem. So when I came over there last month, I went to, my husband drove over there with our kids, and we could see my dad lost weight, wasn't eating, wasn't sleeping, pacing all over the place. And like I said, you have a history in mental illness, mental health, you know that that's bipolar mania, bipolar 1, and hypomania all day long. So we're like, dang, we got to try to talk to him in a way to try to convince him to go to the hospital and get help, because the law is that if you're an adult, nobody can sign you in. You have to say, hey, I need help. You have to voluntarily sign yourself in. So we're like, man, let's try to talk to him in a calm way of how to get in, because clearly this lady don't give a damn about him. Clearly. Because I'll tell you why, as you guys already know what I told you, but let me tell you how she really don't care about him. Because seeing him go through this stuff, why wouldn't you take this man to the hospital before it got too bad, when he could still consent? But you want to complain about him when Miss Deborah was telling me that my dad was telling them, like, oh, they was complaining about him. He's staying up all night. He's getting on their nerves. He's irritating her, blah, blah, blah. So why you don't try to go get him no help if you know that's not his normal behavior? You know what I'm saying? So when I got to his house, he was like, Dad, we're going to take you to the hospital. I called South Suburban, and they was just like, if you come to the ER, they'll do an assessment, and then they'll take him in if they can see signs of something wrong. So I said, okay, Dad, let's go to South Suburban. And he's like, oh, I don't want to go tonight. I'm going to eat something. So we stopped and got some food. He didn't eat it, but he took it in with him. And we said, okay, he said, I'll go tomorrow. And we was like, okay, well, he said, what time? I said, okay, we'll be here about between 11 and 12 o'clock. So I called the next morning. I called NAMI. NAMI is like a National Association of Mental Health Institutions. So I called NAMI because I know this woman clearly hates my father. A blind man can see it. And my concern was, by him having mental health, if y'all watch the news, y'all be seeing people that get killed and stuff by the police. A lot of them just be mentally ill. They need some kind of help. So I said, let me try to find somebody I can call, because I don't want to just call the police and they come and think, oh, he's aggressive, and try to kill him. So what I did was I called the national, like I said, the naming, because they're like, they're in every state now, because they're trying to be advocates so that people with mental health in a crisis don't get murdered. So I called them, I asked them what to do. They told me to ask for a CIT officer. It's called a crisis intervention officer that's trained for these situations. So that's Chicago, though, when I called Navy. My dad, like I said, he lives in the suburbs in South Holland, like about 20 minutes away. So I asked them, I said, do y'all also have this program out there in the suburbs? Because I want to make sure that they don't send nobody that's on no crazy stuff. He's like, oh, no, I'll stay on the phone with you. In fact, I'll even call the ambulance and the police for you and say the keywords and tell them about his behaviors, because he needs help. Because when we pulled up there, he was all of a sudden like...
He also called the house to give...
Oh, right. I got the house phone number when my dad got sick with the pandemic thing, just so that I can... by me not being able to find him, I was like, this is ridiculous. I need this house number so that I can call this woman if I have to get some updates. She don't have to like me, but she got to tell me what's going on with my daddy, period. So I gave the man the number. He was like, he called on the phone. The wife got on the phone. He's like, hello? She ignored him at first, and then she hung up the phone on the man. And the man was like, that's weird, I'm trying to get, the husband some help. Like, what's up with that? So... because my dad was like, when we got there, I don't want to go today. I changed my mind. But he had said he'd stayed up all night, hadn't eaten and stuff, so I'm like, we need to go. So the man was like, I'll send the paramedics. And I said, tell them don't turn no sirens on or nothing. And I'll just, we'll be outside. So we actually get there. The paramedics had already said the procedure. We're just going to talk to him. We're going to try to keep him calm. And we're going to try to get him to go with us. And the police has to come because they have to always assess the situation and make sure there's no, weapons and things like that. So when the officer got there, he explained that they didn't have the CIT program out there because they only had one guy who retired. But I told him the whole story. I stressed mental health. That show keywords when somebody's in a mental health crisis. You don't want them to shoot them or kill them. So he's like, okay, we're not on that. We got it. So do you know that when we stood outside this lady's house, I'm calling the house phone. She didn't took the house, and mind you, when I call on a caller ID, my name comes up. She done took the house phone off of the hook, right? Off the hook, because it's like beep, beep. At first it was just ringing. Off the hook. We're ringing the doorbell. And this is why I made this a public video, because something happened to my daddy. Y'all know who did it. But ringing the doorbell. Ring, ring, ring. Standing outside of her house now. Myself. I want to say it was, at the time, maybe three paramedic guys. Later on, it was like 6. And then 2 police officers, and my husband, he's in the kind of like by the driveway because we had the kids, so he was like between the van, walking like kind of in between, looking at both of us. So we ringing the bell, nobody's knocking hard, you know what I'm saying? The police is not like, get out here, nothing like that. Police didn't even knock, matter of fact, it was the paramedics that knocked. Knocking. Do you know these people in the suburbs are so patient? They stood outside my daddy's house for almost 1 hour. In the rain. Yes, it was raining that day and it was a little chilly outside. So the captain came because he said, we got a call to this house a couple days before the smoke alarm went off, because the fire alarm went off, because my dad, he said, the wife said he was cooking, but he said the wife was lighting Lysol on the stove because she be smoking cigarettes in the house. My dad don't smoke, my dad don't drink. And he said he hates the smell. So he said he told her to turn it off, but she had fell asleep. So he said when the fire alarm went on, he ain't turned it off, she ain't turned it off. So whatever little security program they got, they came to the house. So when a captain came, he's like, dang, I was just here a couple nights ago about 3 in the morning for a call. And that's not normal. My dad would have turned it off, So he was like, yeah, I do want to see this. I do want to see him. I do want him to come in. But the police is like, well, by law, we can't force him to come in and get an evaluation. But they said our recommendation is to try to get him in. So about 40 minutes in while we're out there, this man walks up. And mind you, when I called his sister, because I'm just like telling them what's going on. They're like, oh, you're doing the right thing. We're glad you're here to get him help. He needs help. I told him I was going to get him help. He threatened me. He said he gonna do this to me. He said he gonna do that to me. All things out of his character. So everybody knows something wrong. And at that time, his sister revealed to me that when they were younger children, my dad had been taken to the hospital for things like that. You know, like bipolar and stuff like that, those behaviors. So I'm like, wow, that's interesting because nobody ever told us. We didn't know until he was like when my mother and them said 24. But the fact that you guys knew this stuff, why didn't nobody come to comfort my brother and I we went through and let us know that it was hereditary? But I digress. So I'm like, can you call the phone and tell the lady, since she's y'all friend, can you tell her to open this door? Because these people are just trying to help him, clearly. You know? And I was doing this because when you're bipolar and you're manic and you go into psychosis, you end up walking out in the street at night without your phone. You can get lost. You can get kidnapped. You can get hit by a car. Anything can happen to you because you're not in your right mind during that time. So that's why I was trying to assess the situation before it got too bad, because as I told y'all, she don't give a damn about my daddy. Did y'all see her trying to help my daddy when he was sick and got put on that ventilator? No. So I knew in this situation, and this is why I came over there, because I said, I'm telling you, you would ask my husband, Miss Deborah, my grandma, my mama, I said, watch, this lady's not going to give my daddy help. Then my daddy going to get so angry of how she been treating him all these years. They're going to end up getting into an argument. He's going to end up breaking everything in her house. Because at some point with bipolar, you can get agitated and start breaking stuff and acting irate. I said, watch, he going to break everything in this woman's house. And then that's when she's going to get scared of him. And she's going to call the police like, oh, police, he beat me up, he did this and that. I said, and then she's not going to tell him that he's mentally ill. And they're going to lock my daddy in jail. And when he goes to jail, nobody can help him because he's not going to get no mental health help. I said these exact words that same week because I said the fact that she didn't even try to take him to the doctor. And you, to my understanding, you don't even work. You're at home all day. So why you can't take him to the doctor? And it's around the corner. So I said, let me get over there and try to get him inside of the place so he can get his mind right and open his eyes and see this devil right in front of him and get on up out of this lady's way. You know what I'm saying? So when I open the door, 40 minutes in, this man walks up and he's talking about, kind of walk up all kind of attitude, kind of prideful. So I'm just looking at him like, well, I don't know who you is, but I'm Terrence's daughter. And because when he walked up, he was just like, well, nothing. He was just like, what's going on here? And the paramedics kind of ask her. I'm like, I don't know who you are, but I'm Terrence's daughter, and I know who you are. I'm his cousin. I said, well, I don't recognize you. I said, I don't know if it's your mask or what, but I don't know who you are. I said, well, since you know who I am, and you know who my dad is, you claim you're his cousin, then you should know about our family's history on my dad's side about us having mental illness. My brother, myself, blah, blah. He act like he knew, gonna shake his head. I said, okay, well, if you know about my brother, then what happened to him is the same thing that's happening with my daddy right now. And he gonna say, he ain't say nothing to me. But then they gonna open the door for him. And as he walking in, ain't nothing wrong with him. It's just because all y'all standing out here. I'm like, are you stupid? So you didn't hear the fact that this man not eating, this man not sleeping, this man out all times of night driving this car, all kind of crazy things that he wouldn't normally do. But nothing wrong with him, right? So he said that, then ran in the house. But when he opened the door, my dad's all irate and yelling and telling the police not to shoot, all this stuff, But the police didn't say nothing because they had already knew what was going on. So come to find out, I told my auntie, she's like, we ain't got no cousins up here. So come to find out, it's his wife's deceased husband, family member. But you know something. But you care about my dad. But you know my dad. But you're his advocate all of a sudden. You're his friend. Please. So when he comes out, the paramedics go talk to him. They're like, oh, he doesn't want to go. Now this is the part where I say that she is against my daddy, don't like my daddy, or wants my daddy dead. Because when you have mental health, you have an advocate, someone who speaks for you. Like now, I'm in my right mind. Nothing's wrong with me. I'm eating, I'm sleeping, I'm comprehending. If I get to a point where I'm not eating, sleeping, comprehending, and I'm having problems, that's when my husband becomes my advocate, okay? So if I'm not in my right mind temporarily, and the ambulance come over, my husband's going to tell them my behaviors and what I've been doing differently, right? Because he wants to see the best for me, and he wants me to get treatment so I can get back on track. So, same thing. Before I met my husband, my mother was my advocate. She was my brother's advocate, and she got him help, and she used to get me help. My husband and I got married. pass the torch, and he does that, okay? So the reason why I say she's evil is because paramedics come right back out talking about, oh, he doesn't want to go, he's fine. Okay, but just a few days ago, word from his sisters was his wife was complaining, he's loud, he's yelling, he's not sleeping, he's an issue, he's this, he's that. Literally a day ago, right? So why do you tell the paramedics that? Why do you say I'm his wife? I live with him, so I'm getting it worse than anybody. I'm seeing the signs worse than everybody. He's paranoid, whatever. Why aren't you telling them? So my thing is, are you trying to kill him? Because that was your time to speak. That was your time to tell the paramedics and what you saw. And then they will assess the situation and say, I'm going to take this man in to at least get evaluated. Because his wife of almost 20 years is telling us that this is not his normal behavior. Why aren't you telling them, my husband is a hard-working man. He usually works and goes to sleep. That's it. And maybe go see family when he has time. Why aren't you telling them it's unusual for my husband to stay up for at this time he was up for 5-6 days, I think 5 days in a row. Why do you tell them that was unusual? That my dad hadn't been eating, hadn't been sleeping, what else? All the things he was doing, screaming, yelling, hollering, whatever he doesn't do, why do you tell them? So whatever hatred you have for me, the fact that I brought them there, the fact that I tried to get them help, you turn them away and they say, well, we can't do anything because he says he's fine. Wife didn't intervene or say anything. So at that point I was like, you know what? Done with the situation, because I feel like, what can you do? It's just showing you that this person obviously is trying to kill him. A blind man can see that something was wrong. A blind man would have helped this man. If you was walking down the street and see him acting like this, you would probably call the police, like something wrong. So I'm like, okay, I'm done. Let the situation alone. I said, I told Ms. Deborah, I said, I know y'all love him and care, because y'all been talking to him for years. He talked to her and my brother, baby mama and them family more than he talked to his own wife. Like I said, he called her every single day, before work, after work. He talks to the baby mama, because they see him as like a father. So he talks to her all during the week, you know, and myself. So it's like, you're such a wife, but he always on the phone with all of us or either visiting us. But okay. So I said, you know what, I'm done with the situation. He doesn't want, I can't force him to get help. And by him not being in his right mind, the only person that can advocate for you is your spouse. If you don't have a spouse, then that's your sibling or your child. You know what I'm saying? As an adult. Now, if he was a minor, then yes, he'd have to go. So I'm like, can't do nothing about it. I told Ms. Deborah, you know, just got to pray. Tell Robin, the daughter, just got to pray. I'm like, look, y'all, this situation is stressing me. I'm going to take some time back. Because I feel like all these years, all I've been trying to do is let him know these people are not good for you. Not just because him and my mom divorced, but look at the signs of things. At least if you're going to divorce and marry somebody else, at least upgrade. And I'm not just talking about the physical. Don't think I'm being mean, but that too. But I'm talking about upgrade. Well, you couldn't really upgrade because, I mean, I felt like me and my mom relationship didn't go bad until after the divorce, because she was so consumed with work that she wasn't taking care of me and Bear, because she probably had her own depression or problems for the fact of the divorce. So she was just consumed in work, so we had to take care of ourselves basically. But before the divorce, my mother, all she was doing was working and taking care of her kids. So I'm not pretty sure how much he would have upgraded in any way, but hey, you don't get with somebody who's going to treat you worse than what you're already being treated. So over the years, we're trying to tell them, you know, you don't have to take this, you don't have to put up with this. Be by yourself, because you're practically by yourself anyways, being with this woman. So I said, you know, I'm going to disconnect myself from the situation. I'm tired of him seeing this woman and her child as some kind of savior, but don't give a damn about you. How is the daughter a nurse, work in the hospital, and you on Facebook, oh, my mommy and daddy, but you see your daddy in this situation, and you work at a hospital, and his sister works at a hospital, and his niece works in mental health. So y'all all see this in front of y'all, and none of y'all see fit that he should go to the hospital. And you still see these people as your savior and your friend. So I said, well, I'm going to let them deal with it. I'm going to move around. You know what I'm saying? So I ended up just being like, I don't want to talk to nobody. You know, I had turned my phone off a few days, because I try not to get angry of the loyalty that you put into the people who don't give a damn about you. You see what I'm saying? So I was like, I'm just going to take a step back. I told my grandma, obviously, if she needed me, call my husband's phone and just cut the phone off, because I just didn't even want to deal with it. Because every time they were updating me, it was obviously hurting my feelings, you know, telling me things like, your dad's still not sleeping, your dad's still not eating, you know, your dad's, now he's telling Miss Deborah and telling me how he's not happy, how the woman's treating him bad, how she don't give a damn about him, how she do him and stuff. So obviously the situation was making me sad, because it's like, okay, I can't make you leave this woman. You got to leave this woman on your own. I can't make you go to the hospital because I'm not your wife. They're not going to let me make you go to the hospital. And then your wife is not trying to help you and get you signed in when she's actually the one who is supposed to get you signed in. I'm talking about how my dad's wife don't give a damn about him, and in the situation that he's in, she ain't trying to help him, and if anything, she's making it worse and she's trying to hurt him. So fast forward, I'm almost done. So after I leave the house, like I said, I told them they don't really have to, you know, update me. I needed some time to myself. So maybe about 2 weeks later, okay, I'm going to say like last week then. Last week, my brother's baby mom's mother called my grandma, Mary, because I didn't want to be involved. I didn't want to talk to him. I didn't want to deal with the situation because of, it just upset me what was going on. So my grandma had gave me an update, and she was just letting me know basically that things had gotten worse. I didn't know they had gotten worse because I'm thinking, okay, well, you live in the house with this woman. Eventually she's going to say, okay, I better get him some help because it's just getting too bad, you know, because it's not going to get better if you don't get treatment. So I'm like, basically, by them being in the house together and things getting worse, again, I'm thinking that he went to get help. So my grandma updated me. She was telling me that, you know, she had heard from my family members that he had went, like, you know, back in the area, kind of like by my great grandma's house, and they seen him. And even though they don't see him often, you know, they might have seen him last year or the year before. And by them knowing him for so many years, because when he was married to my mom, they were able to visibly see that he wasn't looking healthy. You know, he wasn't doing good. He wasn't himself. They can see that just from looking at him. Because my grandma was saying that my great grandma, she was looking out the window and could see that he wasn't, you know, being himself. And then the other family members actually was able to witness it. So she told me, and I was like, dang, that's sad. You know, it's getting worse. And the fact that he's even driving in those conditions. So then I was like, okay, well, I have to try something else. But I didn't know what, you know, so I just kept praying. So then after that, that was like a week ago, I think, or the week before. So then I got another phone call, and that's when Miss Deborah was saying that she had to go get him picked him up from out of jail, and that he had got kicked out of the house, and he wasn't, you know, sleeping there anymore. He was outside and stuff. I'm like, what? And I'm like, jail? Like, what are you talking about? And he's on house arrest. I'm like, what are you talking about? And she was just like, well, the lady that he was with is trying to say that he jumped on her or choked her or something like that. So she called the police and got him arrested, and they put him on house arrest. All kind of just crazy stuff. So she picks him up from the police station out there. And I'm just like, well, where is he staying at? You know what I'm saying? And she said that the lady has his cell phone locked in her house. She got his clothes and stuff that he had. His clothes was in his car up there at her house. She has his car, has his cell phone, like all of his stuff. And I'm just like, well, how is he gonna ID, wallet, whatever? I'm like, okay, well, how is he gonna, like, go to a hotel or just go anywhere if his wallet's in the house? His clothes, his car, everything is in the house, and then he has a restraining order thingy until after June 16th. So then now I'm really concerned, because I'm like, okay, so his health has gotten worse. Nobody's trying to help him. He's losing weight, not sleeping, not eating. I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me. So, I meant to say this. After I left his house for trying to get him help at the end of April, 2 days later, my brother's baby mama called me and was like, oh, your dad needs help. He says he can't breathe and he needs help. And he kept saying things like, my wife said she gonna put me 6 feet under, she gonna kill me, all this stuff. So she told me, I don't know his address, can you please send the ambulance over there, because he told me he need my help, and I don't know, I may not get there fast enough. So I said, okay. Mind you, I wasn't calling him, I wasn't talking to him, because they're mad, because I tried to get him help that day. So the wife was like, she's not welcome to my house, don't come to my house, basically don't be involved. So I said, fine, I won't be involved then any longer. So I called the ambulance because, like I said, the baby mama called me like, your dad needs help, he can't breathe, and he's saying the woman gonna kill him, whatever. So I called, but I told the police, like, you know, what the girl told me, I'm not involved, just send him some help. So then my auntie calls me right after, like, oh, did you call the ambulance to his house? Because they said the call came from Chicago. And I was like, yes, I did. But before she let me finish, she's just like, oh, he's a grown man, and we can't make him get help. We can't make him go to the hospital, and his wife is doing all she can. I said, hold on. First of all, I'm not involved, you know, any longer. She called, my brother's baby mama called me saying needed help, and she asked me would I please call. She was in a panic. She was frantic, and that's all I did on three-way. And I said, she goes, yeah, his wife's doing all she can. I said, oh, that's what you think? I said, all this situation's going on, you think his wife's actually trying to help him? I said, if that's what y'all think, then, you know, screw y'all and all of his family on that side. Don't none of y'all call my phone. So that's when I said I was done with the situation. So I was done, like I said, until I got that call about a week ago, a week and a half. And they said how bad he was doing. And that's when Miss Deborah called me and was saying that she had got him out of jail, that the wife had called the police on him, put him out, got this little temporary restraining order, this house arrest thing. And the reason why I said I know this woman is looking for his downfall, and that's why I'm documenting this, because I know after this situation, I'm not going to speak on it anymore. I am honestly in fear that something is going to happen to my dad, because the person that only can advocate for him, his wife, is not trying to do that. So that's why I put this out here, so that if anybody needs to know the story in the future, they can just watch it, because I'm not going to be talking about it over and over on the phone. Clearly, like, who wants to keep talking about something so depressing? So when she told me all these things about my dad's current situation, I'm just like, where's he staying? And she was like, I don't know. She's like, after I had got him out of the jail or whatever, I think he had told her he was staying at like a hotel or something. Or no, I think that night he might have went there. I'm not sure. But the next day, when Miss Deborah was at work, he called her on the phone. He had went to like a furniture store and used the phone to call her. And she asked him, like, okay, well, I'll send you an Uber so you can come to stay at my house, because we're not going to let you just stay on the street or, you know, be homeless or something like that. Like, this is horrible. Like, why didn't the woman, when the police came, why didn't she tell them he has a mental health problem? He's been acting different for about a month now. He's not sleeping. He's not eating. Can y'all please get him some evaluation and some help? She didn't do that. She calls the police like, oh, whatever lies she said. He's beating me up. He's attacking me. I don't know. I wasn't there. But I know she's looking for his downfall, because why wouldn't you tell them that he needed some kind of mental health? Why would you tell them? Right, that's not his character. He don't be fighting nobody at all, but especially not no woman. So why wouldn't you tell the police, like, he needs help? And when I actually talked to my dad, he said that day at our house, 3 police officers jumped on him, beat him up really bad. He does have bruises. He does. You know, you can see the bruises on him. You can see the swelling on him, all that stuff. So whatever she told them on the phone, they came in there. He was laying down asleep, he said. They came in there and they beat him up, the 3 officers, dragged him out, all this kind of stuff. But I guess they probably let him go because, I mean, she's lying. They probably couldn't see anything, any physical harm to her, and they let him go. But they did, you know, put the ankle bracelet on him. So my thing is, when he had called Miss Deborah from the store, mind you, he didn't have a cell phone, wallet, ID, anything, no money, nothing on him. And she said, well, I'll send an Uber. I think she was still at work, you know, to come to my house and everything. But she said he was riding a bicycle, and the Uber couldn't get him because he didn't have a phone. They couldn't track it. So she called my grandma that day. So I'm like, oh no, you know what I'm saying? He's outside and he locked out, kicked out. He ain't got nowhere to go. He ain't got no money. He ain't got no cell phone. So my grandma had got the phone. I was about to feed the kids dinner, and my husband was like, well, I'm finna go out there you know, because I know the area, you know, most of his life he was in that area. So he's like, well, I'm finna go out there and go look for your dad or whatever at that store and in this, you know, surrounding areas and cities and stuff. So I was like, okay, well, I'll feed the kids. And, you know, my husband went out there. This was literally, what's today? Sunday. What was this, like Tuesday, Wednesday? Last week? No. Thursday he was at his sister's. Was it Thursday? No, Thursday was at Deborah's house. So it might have been Thursday, right? Wednesday, Thursday. Probably Thursday. So he went out there and to go look for him and everything. And I was like, okay, something was telling me to call Miss Deborah. Because she called my grandma like 3 hours before that. And I'm like, this is crazy, you know. I can't believe somebody, you know, with such a good character and always been there for everybody, done for everybody, never done nobody bad. That this is his certain, you know, situation. That he's outside, not in his right mind. So to the world seeming to be as a crazy man, no money, no cell phone, no vehicle, no car, nothing, just outside. Holding bag, like a clothes bag and something else. I'm like, that's, you know, but you his wife and you care about him. So my husband goes out there looking for him. And I call Miss Deborah and I'm just like, have you seen, you know, I text her like my husband's on his way out there to find him so he can bring him, you know, over or whatever. And she didn't answer the text. And it was like 20 minutes. I said, you know, some said call her. So right before my husband was pulling up, like 5 minutes before that, she had got there to the furniture store and she picked my dad up. So I was on the speakerphone and I was listening to what he was saying. He was like, the police beat me up on Monday. 3 officers beat me up because she said that I had choked her, and her friend said that, and the cops beat me up, and my medication is at her house. Now, he had said that he went to Ingalls like I think a week or something before that, but I don't know if the doctor prescribed him anything for mental health because he denies that he needs help, so I don't know. But I know that Miss Deborah said when she got him from the police station, he had a bag of medication, but it's locked in the wife's house. So I don't know if that medication was for mental health, his liver, kidneys, because he has issues. I don't know what it was for. So I just know all of his belongings and all of his things was locked in that house. So it was, you know, very sad, obviously. So when she picked him up and just telling her the story of what had happened to him, the arrest, him getting beat up, you know, just the lady, he was talking about divorce and all kind of things like that. And I was so hurt. I was so hurt in my spirit. Like, I couldn't believe that a person that you knew that was going through mental health, you can't say you didn't know, because he's never acted like this around you. A person you physically can see is suffering, you would kick out onto the streets. And not just the person, like, you're supposed to be married to this person for almost 20 years. On the street, where was he gonna go? It's not like you called somebody and was like, let him go to your house till you get some help. Like, no. My dad, just like me and my brother, like, we used to always memorize numbers. If he would have never memorized Miss Deborah's number and her daughter's number and my number, whatever, how would he have called anybody to get help? How we would have known he was outside? How would have known? Because, like I said, none of us are welcome to his house. Never have been. So how we would have known where he was at? And when my husband was out there, you know, he's telling his friends and stuff like, oh, be on the lookout for my wife's dad and just stuff like that. You can't tell me that's somebody that cares about him. Even if you felt like you was going to put him on the street, why didn't you call me? I know you hate me, but dang, this is about my dad. You weren't supposed to look. You couldn't have called me and said, come get your dad because I'm finna put him on the street. Come get your dad's belongings and let him stay with you. Like, you couldn't have done none of that. But instead, the evilness in you, you would put my dad onto the street. No car, no cell phone, no wallet, ID, no money, no nothing. A hard-working man who's been working his entire life, same job currently for 17 years, and you would put this man on the street. No food, nothing. No phone to even call nobody for help. And if that furniture store would have told him no, he couldn't use the phone. And that was that morning. So all looking for him. When I got the phone call, they're looking for him because he had called her in the morning. Nobody heard from him no more. It was almost 6 o'clock at night. We didn't know if he left the city, the city he was in, or nothing. That's when my husband went out there to go look for him. And then a woman had let him use her cell phone. And that's when he called Miss Deborah and said, oh, you know, I'm over here. And that's how she went to go find him. That's how she went to go pick him up. And he actually called his wife while he was there, because Miss Deborah told me that his wife, his sister had showed up because his wife called. But, hold on, it's not out of love. Because his sister was like, oh, I had to drive all the way out here. I was in traffic, and I didn't want to be all out here, but your wife called me and told me to get you. But that's because my dad used the phone at the furniture store first to call his wife, like, can you come pick me up? And the wife told him, no, you need to stay there. So I guess the sister came, and Miss Deborah asked the sister, well, can you go get his medication from the White House since she's your friend or whatever the case is? And she didn't get the medication. She was like, no. And they said that they asked the other sister, would she come get him? And she said no. So he was just like, I don't want to go with them. And because they were basically like, I guess instead of trying to get him help, kind of, you know, make him, calling him crazy or making him feel crazy, so he didn't want to go with his sister. So that was the main thing that I wanted to catch up with. And I'll be off here no more than 10 minutes so I can, you know, get ready to go to bed and stuff. But I just wanted to share that, like, how devastating that was. Like, you know, that she'll put him out. Like, it's not like you're putting somebody out who's in their right mind doing something, but somebody who's in their, you know, not in their right mind and not exhibiting the correct behaviors. Like, how could you put them on the streets? Well, you could have just called the doctor and got him some help. It's simple. You could have called the paramedics and said, my husband is having a mental health crisis. Can you please take him into the hospital? Give him some medication, give him some rest, and he'll be better in no time. But instead, he has court coming up. I don't know what's going to happen. And you get him a criminal record. I mean, instead of just getting him some help for his brain. All these years, he's been loyal to your family, left his family, gave y'all the clothes off his back, anything y'all wanted, paying the bills, whatever y'all needed. But that one time, 2 times he needed y'all. When he got sick with the pandemic thing, and then when he, now he's going through this mental crisis. And his main problem is that he's saying he's having problems with grieving over my brother right now, his mother passing, and just like basically how bad, a lot of ways, his mother and father treated him and his siblings and stuff. He's battling all that right now. The stress of being sent home from a job he's been through for 17 years. So really, he's like battling a lot of trauma. That's what's triggering, you know, the stress in his mental health right now. And the fact that he needed y'all this one time, second time, nobody could be there for him. But I'm the bad guy, right? Because I tried to get him help before it got this far. So then it's not getting better because she won't get him any help. So when he goes to my brother's baby mama's mother's house, he leaves at like 3 in the morning. So she calls me Thursday, like, or was this Thursday? Maybe it was Friday. And she's like, I don't know where he's at. He left at 3 in the morning. He got his the bag of clothes and a bag of food. And we're like, well, where is he at? You know, nobody know, because he left obviously in the middle of the night. So yeah, I think now this is Friday morning. So my husband's like, okay, well, we're going to go out there when you get off work and go look for him. So now we were concerned because Friday the temperature had dropped again. So I think it was like 40 something. It was raining. And we're like, oh man, do we got a coat? Because at this time I hadn't seen him still. Well, you know, is he okay? So he calls later that evening and says he had rode the bus to Chicago, which, like I said, is about maybe 25 minutes away from where my dad lives. But the bus ride obviously is a lot longer from the suburbs coming to the Chicago. So he's riding the bus and he's like, oh, I'm in my sister's house, and we're just trying to talk to him. And I'm like, okay, good, because his sister works at the hospital and his niece works in mental health. So I'm like, okay, this is great, you know, maybe he'll get some help. So then he calls her back like, I can't stay here, you know, she's fighting with me, she's not trying to help me. So he says, well, I'm going to go on 68th and Morgan, because I guess that's his wife's deceased husband's family that he's known for years. So I guess he believes that they love or care about him. So we were just relieved to get the call that he actually was with somebody, because again, we thinking that he's just missing. Obviously, it's dangerous in Chicago. It's dangerous anywhere, but I mean, come on, you're just walking up and down the streets, not in your right mind, and that's dangerous. So we're like, okay, at least we can track him. So when he goes to 68th and Morgan, we're thinking, okay, that's a bad idea. It's, you know, it's Friday night, and obviously you don't need to be over there. And those people are her people. So I get another call back, and I'm like, you know, I need to do anything I can to get him some help. So she's like, oh, he wants to come to your house. I said, that's fine. So I tell the man my address, and they get here in about 15, 20 minutes. And that night, my dad had slept or whatever, because I had some, you know, bipolar medication that I had previously. You know, I don't take medications while I'm pregnant, but I still have them, you know. So I was like, okay, well, maybe if I can just get him to get a good night's rest, because he hasn't slept in days, then maybe I can reason with him and try to get him to check himself in to get some help. So, you know, my husband made him some, like, sleepy time tea, and gave him some medication and some, I gave him medication and some, you know, over-the-counter, like, melatonin to sleep. So he slept that whole night, 8 hours, and I'm like, okay, great. So the next morning, he kept saying he wanted to go to the hospital. So I'm like, okay, great. Maybe he's going to check himself in, you know, to try to get some help. That would be awesome. So, you know, it was like he was back, you know, still in that bad state of mind, and we're just trying to tell him, you know, calm down, just getting a little irate and things like that. And I'm just like, okay, well, I got to get him to the hospital. So I called my grandma, and she's just like, okay, you know, just call the ambulance and stuff. But when I called them, I explained to them mental health. They was going through a mental health crisis because, again, you don't want no cops coming with no guns drawn and thinking like, oh, you know, this is something bigger than what it is. So when they got here, all the paramedics, this is Saturday morning now, yesterday morning, all the paramedics were really nice. Black male officer, black female officer, Mexican male officer, and I think, what was it, 3 white paramedics? Yeah. 3 white guys? Yeah, they were all very nice. So they talked to him, they were patient with him. I think they might have been CIT officers, like I said, trained for mental health. Very nice, very patient. They didn't treat him bad. Nobody beat him up. Nobody hurt him. So he actually, you know, I was actually able to involuntarily check him into the hospital. But when he got there, they were saying they can visibly see that he had some kind of bipolar mania and psychosis. And they kept him. But I talked to him today on the phone, and that he'll be seeing the doctor tomorrow. I say all of this to say, like I said, I documented this because, like I said, I'm probably not going to be on social media again for a while, but I wanted to document it because my hands are done with the situation. I love my dad. I care about my dad. But if someone is not working with me to get my dad help, how can I get my dad help? Like I told my brother's baby mama family, I can get him checked into the hospital, but even when he gets out the hospital, if nobody is helping him manage his stress, medication, doctor's appointments, psychologist appointments, he's going to end up back in the same situation that he's in. Not to mention that he's in denial. You know, he doesn't believe that he has this, even though the doctors are saying it, even though the signs are clear, and you don't have a spouse that's like, yeah, honey, you need help. You know, let's go to counseling. You know, let's if nothing else, let's go to grief counseling. You know, let's deal with the trauma of losing your son. Let's deal with the trauma of losing your mother. Let's deal with the trauma of not having a father when you were growing up. Let's deal with the trauma of your mother neglecting you and treating you less than growing up. Let's deal with the trauma of your sisters and other family members basically just taking. Don't really invite you places. Don't really care for you. Didn't really help you grieve. But if they need something, they'll call you. Or if it benefits you, they'll call you. Let's work on those things in your life that are traumatic to you. You know, nothing else, not having a supportive spouse. So my thing is, if I don't have her backing me because she doesn't like me, then what's going to happen to my dad. And I have to tell you guys this stuff because I don't want to see nothing happen to my dad. But if y'all Google right now on YouTube, what happens to a mentally ill person that lives on the street? Go on there and see. They end up homeless. People think they're a bum. My dad don't do drugs. He don't drink alcohol or smoke cigarettes. My dad's been clean of cigarettes, alcohol, and all that stuff for over 10 years. He don't do nothing. He's just work, go to the gym, take care of himself. So to see somebody like that walking around with a bag of clothes and living outside. And I'm making this video because today, after I took him to the hospital, got him taken to the hospital, now they want to pretend like they're looking for him. This is so sick. Miss Deborah called me and told me my auntie called her talking about, you know where my brother is at? His wife called me crying and she's looking for him. You ain't looking for him. You called him crying because when he went on 68th and Morgan to your family member's house, you were embarrassed because that man had to give my daddy some socks, a coat, a hat, some money, and some food. So when them people called your phone, like, what the hell is going on? This hardworking man, all this money that he has, that he stored up his whole life. My daddy got 2 cars and a motorcycle. So why is this man on a bus, not eating, don't got no clothes on, no jacket on, no socks on, need new shoes? What is going on with this man? This is not this man's behavior nor character. So that's what that was. She was embarrassed when them people called her and said, what the hell is going on with Terrence? But all this week, when Terrence was sleeping outside, we didn't know where he was at. Nobody ain't call us. She didn't even call to say, go get your daddy, nothing. She didn't, nothing. So now all of a sudden that your family have called you and said, what is going on? Now you put on these theatrics and try to call my auntie today talking about, I don't know where my husband is at. I'm so sad. But you put him out. And when he started acting funny last month, you didn't try to get him no help. When I came to your front door and told you what his problem was, my mother and grandma was also on the phone trying to say, we dealt with this. And when he first got diagnosed in the 80s, 86, before my brother was born, my grandma and my mother the one who had to take him to the hospital. My grandma and mother the one who nursed him back to health when he got out the hospital. His family didn't want to be bothered with him. Period. He's a burden at that point. It was a problem. So the fact that they tried to tell you what was going on with him, and you knew about our medical history, our family history, because when my husband and I first got together and her daughter was jealous, she made sure to send a text message like, oh yeah, make sure she takes her bipolar medicine. She's crazy. So I say this to say, y'all know the history of mental health illnesses in our family. And you're a nurse. Y'all know this stuff. So because they call you talking about, oh, Terrence is doing so bad, he's outside on the streets, now all of a sudden you want to pretend like you're looking for him? Oh, I'm so devastated. Where is he at? And then my auntie want to be fake talking about, oh, why didn't you tell Miss Deborah, why didn't Toya call us? Call y'all for what? Do y'all call me? When my daddy's sick, my daddy on his deathbed, y'all didn't call me. Y'all didn't call me and tell me my daddy was outside walking with a bag of food and in a bag in his hand with some clothes. Y'all didn't tell me my daddy was outside. Y'all didn't tell me that my daddy was in jail, that my dad was on house arrest. My dad locked and kicked out the house. Y'all didn't tell me that my daddy money is in the house with this lady and he ain't got no dime in his pocket. Y'all didn't tell me this. Y'all didn't call me. Y'all didn't ask me to go look for my dad, to help my dad. Y'all didn't tell me his cell phone was with the lady. Y'all didn't do none of this stuff. So now that I didn't try to check him in and get some help, I'm the bad guy because I didn't call y'all. Call y'all for what? So y'all can say how y'all don't want me to bother? Yeah, my dad told me his sister, the oldest, when he was at her house yesterday, before he came to my house, Friday, he said he tried at the University of Chicago where she works. He said he went to the emergency room, and he said that he didn't get to see a doctor because she was rushing him. Oh, hurry up this, hurry up that. I don't have time, this, that. Oh, but now y'all care. Now that her family didn't call and y'all embarrassed for whatever little thing y'all was trying to accomplish or do, And now that these people found out the business, now y'all want to call they won't call my phone, of course, because I'm going to give it to them. But they call my brother, baby mama family talking about, sit down, baby, talking about why she didn't tell us where he was at. You knew, and Miss Deborah was like, you knew exactly where he was at. He was at her house when he said, I'm going to my daughter's house. I'm going to 68th and Morgan first, and then I'm going to my daughter's house. They was on the phone. I heard it. It was on speakerphone. Me and her both, we was all on the phone. So now all of a sudden, y'all want to pretend like y'all don't know where my dad was at. And then the man in the so-called family, he even told them where he dropped my dad off at, which is my address. He said the street numbers and everything where I live at. So how y'all gonna pretend like y'all don't know where he's at? Oh, why she didn't tell us? Oh, we didn't know where he was at. Oh, his wife is crying. Oh, she's saying that, things are so hard on her. He was just beating her up every single day. And that ain't even my dad's character. This woman is like 6 feet 1, 2. My dad's like 5'8". And you want us to believe that my dad was just beating this woman? And she said beating her upside the head. I'm sorry. So he was climbing up the ladder and just beating her upside her head every single day. But I thought he choked her. Which one is it? What is it now? So now she on the phone crying, talking about, oh, I just couldn't deal with it. He's beating me up every single day. He beat me upside my head. Which lie we gonna? Can we at least stick to the same lie? So now she's embarrassed that they know what she's up to. You didn't put him out for him basically to die, pretty much. And now that your family found out in the city, you didn't expect him to find out in Chicago because y'all live in the suburbs. But he didn't went over there thinking that people care about him. And now they didn't call you like, what's going on? And I'm making this live really to say that since my dad is in denial that he needs help, and his wife won't speak up and stand up and tell the people what's going on, that he really needs help, instead you got him looking like a criminal. He got a court date coming up and you making like he just done something to you instead of telling him that he needs help and he's not in his right mind. I'm telling y'all this because, like I said, he's been over to my family's house. They seen the bad condition he was in. My grandma spoke to him. They seen the bad condition he's in. Came to my house. I seen the bad condition he was in. The paramedics, ambulance, seen the bad condition he was in. But the thing about the law is that if you say, oh, I don't want nothing, I don't want medication, I don't want treatment, they can't give it to you. The only hope and the only advocate that could have gotten some kind of power of attorney, oh, that's another thing. After she put him out, after she kicked him out, after she put him on the street, now you want to get power of attorney. For what, ma'am? Because when you could have put him in the hospital, you could have done that without power of attorney. So now that you're kicking him out, putting him on the street, and he got that 401k and all his money saved up from working all those beautiful long years, now you want power of attorney all of a sudden? I could be wrong. Remember, I'm crazy, right? I don't know nothing either, right? But I'm making this because he's a grown man. He'll be out of the hospital soon. Doctor comes tomorrow, maybe sometime next week. And I'm saying this to say, I wanted the truth to be out. If something happens to my father, y'all know who it points back to. His wife. Because why didn't you help him? Why aren't you helping him? And then another thing, if my dad comes out and he's still in the same mindset, where's my dad going to go? He don't stay at nobody's house because of the fact of what he's going through. He won't stay at nobody's house because he's not in his right mind. So, coming to my house, he's going to leave. He's not going to stay. Being at Miss Deborah's house, he's not going to leave. He's going to leave. He's not going to stay. So if his wife doesn't speak up and talk to the doctors and the people to help him, then how is he going to get help? Who's going to help him? The only people that's been trying to help my dad has been Miss Deborah, Robin, which is her daughter, all of her daughters for that matter, all of her family members for that matter. Like I said, I tried to go over there and get help. I tried to make the calls. My grandma tried to help him and talk to him. He came to my great-grandma's house and everything. We're the only ones that has tried to help him. When it comes to his wife, makes things difficult. She won't call. She won't answer the phone when I call. No hope on her end. I don't know what's going to happen. Like I said, he's a grown man, so when he gets out of the hospital, it's his decision. We can't, force him. But if since for some part of him believes this woman loves him and cares about him, believes her daughter loves and cares about him. So if his wife is on the same accord as us trying to get my father some kind of help or treatment, then he would have somewhere to stay, and she can actually try to help him take some kind of medication, help him get some rest and everything like that. Yeah, Robin, you know, when he left your mom's house on what was that, Thursday night coming into Friday morning or whatever, he had got on the bus or whatever, ended up at his sister's house, then went to 6th from Morgan, then he came to my house. So when he came to my house Friday night, he slept because I gave him some of my medication and stuff. And then that morning, you already know how he's been acting, you know, the yelling, the screaming, all kind of, you know, getting irate. You know how he been getting lately and all that stuff. So a lot of chaos, very chaotic and stuff. So I called, you know, the ambulance to take him into the hospital and stuff like that. But like I said, I know that he'll probably be out. I don't know if he'll be out tomorrow or in a couple days. But yeah, that's pretty much the catch up part. And I've already updated your mom, so I know if you call her tomorrow and stuff, she can update you, like, you know, with super duper full details and stuff like that. So yeah, he's in the hospital right now, but like I say, he should be out in a couple days. But yeah, I was just letting everybody know that yeah, the wife has made it complicated. She's not tried to help us. We've all tried to get him help. She doesn't basically want to help us help him. But now that, like I said, her family found out about it, now she's pretending like she's concerned. Oh, I can't find him. Oh, where is he? Why didn't anybody tell me? Then they tell me she crying on the phone. Yeah, right. But like I said, I wanted his truth to be told, because when he gets out the hospital, we don't know what's going to happen. Like I said, he won't stay at my house. He won't stay at Miss Deborah's house, because anytime somebody tries to tell him they need to get help, it's just kind of like, whatever, I'm leaving then. Exactly. That's exactly what she wants. We know she wants his money, because why all of a sudden now you want to get power of attorney, but when we tried to go get him help a month ago, you told me don't come back to your house, and I had no business coming over there trying to get him some help. But if you care about him, why did you kick him out, take his car, take his phone, take his wallet? Why is he sleeping outside? That's another thing. He was supposed to be sleeping outside or at some hotel out there, and we have no idea how he was paying. We think it was by the grace of God that the people let him stay there. But we didn't even know all this stuff. I don't know if he was trying to keep it away. But if you cared about him, you never called nobody, never tried to get him help, never tried to call his daughter, nothing. That's why I believe that said that she might have even got him kicked out of the hotel. So now that your family knows, her deceased husband family knows, now you're trying to call, because they probably knew something about her when she was married to their son. And that's probably why she tried to call and pretend like she was this angel. But it's like, not call me, of course. She called his sister to have her call. But like I said, I'm concerned about my dad. If something happened to my dad, y'all may know what happened to him, or y'all may know who's the reason of what happened to him. Because, like I said, if he can't come back to that house to after June 16th, and like I said, he's not going to stay at my house, because anytime somebody tell him, hey, we need to take you get some help, I don't need no help, I'm fine. Same thing, if he's at Miss Deborah's house and he gets the yelling and acting irate, he's not gonna go. So the only person that can help him is his wife. And when it comes to like his sisters and stuff, like he said, his sister rushed him out of the hospital. His sister didn't even wait for him to see a psych nurse, but she works at the hospital. And then come to find out her daughter works in mental health, so she should be well equipped, no help. So we don't know what their agenda is, but there you have it. Yep. Well, I still have a few more months. I mean, knowing this baby, it could be end of August or September or something. They never get my dates right with none of the kids. They just come when they want to, really. But yeah, probably end of August or beginning of September. But yeah, so I wanted to get the story out, because obviously they're going to try to paint us as the bad guys. Myself, my husband, Miss Deborah, Robin and her family, the only ones that been trying to help him since the beginning. And even before he got sick, we was the only ones that would talk to him on a constant basis. You know, that was, obviously I was in another state, so I couldn't see him on a regular basis, but I would talk to him on the phone. We were the only ones that was always talking to him anyways, or seeing him anyways. So we didn't just pop on the scene when he got sick. We had already been in his life already. But I guess we're the ones that's hidden because, I mean, they don't, I mean, they want to pretend like they care about him and stuff, but none of them are helping him at all. So, yeah, like I said, I don't know what's going to happen from here. This is the update I have so far. But I will be documenting this stuff because I refuse for them to make my dad look like he's the bad guy. And he's never been that way. Never had that kind of character. Never had that about himself. And for people to try to bash him and kick him when he's down, and he's done for everybody their whole life, I refuse to do that. I stepped away because I feel like he's so loyal to these people, and the ones that's trying to help him, it's like he fights against them, but he goes back to the ones that don't care about him. So that's why if he gets out of the hospital and he's like, oh, I'm going back to our house, there's nothing I can do at that point. All I can do is just pray for him, but by him being grown, I can't do anything. But like I said, it's a sad situation, but I refuse to allow them to lie on my father. I refuse, and if something happens to him on the streets, y'all know whose fault it was, because his wife, again, is the only one that can advocate for him. I even asked the police when I was there last month. He said if the person goes downtown and documents everything that he is going on, they will be able to put him in. But more than likely, like I said, it's going to be a spouse or somebody who lives with him, somebody who can actually, say what's going on. She could have went to his job. His job sent them home. She could have went to his job and they could have documented the behaviors they saw. She could have went to his regular physician. They would document the behaviors. And he's denying medications because of his liver. But she could have gave them a list of his medications and told them what to give him that could help. She's not trying to advocate for him at all. She's not trying to help him at all. She's watching my father deteriorate. She's not trying to help him. She's not trying to inform our family. If it wasn't for Miss Deborah and her family, I wouldn't have got the call about him being sick that time with the pneumonia. I wouldn't have got the call about this time, him being on the streets. So there you have it. Didn't mean to be as long as I was, but I had to get it out. Because at first I was like, I'm not going to say nothing. I could have called 1 million people and said all this, but like I said, it would be way too many people to call. But, I will be updating, like I said, my cousin and stuff. I'll be updating you, BC, like on the phone from here on out, because I'm not probably going to update anymore. I just wanted to get the main thing out, because if something happens to my father, like, y'all gonna know why. Y'all gonna know who did not help him and the reason why something happened to him. And I say that because if he gets out, he's not staying in none of our houses because he doesn't want to get help, then obviously he would end up on the street, right? And then what's going to happen to him? And his wife ain't going to let him stay there. She's not letting him come there. So what's going to happen? So that's why the other day when I was saying I was going to call you, BC, I couldn't even deal with it, when I first found out the condition my dad was in. And I was just like, you know what, I just need to sleep this off. And then, so much obviously happened between Friday night and yesterday. So I was just like, I'll call tomorrow. But that way when I call tomorrow, you pretty much already have the story. I'll just be, filling in little things I didn't share on here. But yeah, so that's where we're at right now. I don't know what's going to happen from here on out. But I did want to document this because if something happens to my dad, y'all know why. His family's not concerned. His family thinks that his wife is some kind of an angel. But it's funny, they're actually very two-faced people, because when they first talked to me on the phone, they would say, I don't know why she won't help him. I don't know why she didn't take him to the hospital when he was sick for pneumonia, blah, blah, blah. And then even this time around, didn't she notice something was strange about him? Why didn't she get him no help? They said all that. But then when she tell them, call her phone and ask her why she called the ambulance, they get an attitude with me talking about why am I getting involved. But it's like, oh, I thought y'all cared about y'all brother. And today y'all calling with this little fake story about how she's crying and he beat her up, all this stuff that's never even happened. So I have no relationship or association with anybody in his family. And there's the truth. And people who know me personally, obviously they can text me, they can call me. I'll probably be back off this app, but they can, my messenger, I still got my messenger. So if anybody's concerned about my dad or anything, want to know how he's doing, they can always message me on Messenger. And the ones who have my number personally, they can call me, text me, whatever the case may be. But yeah, y'all pray for him. For the ones that live in the city, when he does get out the hospital, if he doesn't go back over there, if y'all see him, try to convince him to get some help. Try to take him to get some help. And y'all know the truth. And I just, yeah, if I'm moved to have to share anything else in the future, I definitely will. But I just want to tell y'all, y'all really have to watch y'all back. Like, you really can't trust people. Like, actions will definitely show you about a person. But to be honest, I think God needed my dad to see that he was sleeping with the enemy and who he was really with, because he always knew this woman was bad and treated him like trash. But it is not until a person, you get to your lowest and you see how somebody treats you, and that's really at that point in time when you learn who they are. So on that note, everybody just keep them in prayers. And like I said, they can lie all they want. I'll give you whoever they want to lie about. I can give y'all my family members and stuff. We can get on the phone and talk to Miss Deborah on three-way, and she'll tell y'all her side of the story. Remember, Miss Deborah is my brother's baby mama's mother. I can put you on the phone with my brother's baby mama. She can tell you the stuff, her side of the story, and her sisters and stuff. And they can tell you themselves too, from their own mouth, not from mine. And we can all listen to the stories, and y'all can see what's really going on. Yep, I'll keep you updated, Brent. And I know, like, you can always ask Mary too, because I know Mary, I be keeping Mary updated and stuff. So, but I'll let y'all know. And y'all have a good night. Love y'all, and just keep them in prayer. Updates. So, I am back for a short update, okay? Very short, very brief. Hey, baby. I just want to say the last thing I left off with saying was that we had my dad taken to the hospital. They allowed me to sign him in and everything. So we'll just talk about the hospital stay. While he was at the hospital, he called me, I called him. I noticed already, but like the first day he was like saying, it sounded like after he got medication, he was talking a little better. Like, he was talking about how he had this check coming on Tuesday, and how he was going to, how he had this check coming on Tuesday, and how he was going to, he was thinking about moving down south with his family or whatever. So I'm like, okay, he sound like he, got some rest. He's talking a little clearer. But then I want to say later on that day, or either the following day, he had started to say, that he had talked to his stepdaughter, the nurse, and was saying how, she, was giving him suggestions about certain things, and, how she cared about him, and she knew what she was talking about. And at first, when I was talking to him on the phone, he was kind of talking, kind of like bad about the wife, like, I'm done with her, I'm done with that family. So then when I talked to him this time around, it was surprising that he was talking about, lifting up this this stepdaughter on such a high pedestal after I just shared the first part about how they treated him. But I didn't say anything. I'm like, okay, maybe he's just not in his right mind. So then I talked to him later the next day, and he's telling me how he had been in contact with the wife, and basically talking like everything's good, nothing changed, and all this and that. So I'm like, okay, well, in my heart of hearts, I knew I was done. I knew it was over with. I knew I did my part, by getting him to the hospital and him not being on the streets, getting hurt or getting killed or anything. And I had already been done anyways before that, when I tried to get him help And, you know, he had called my phone and was leaving voicemails and accusing me of trying to get him arrested, and basically saying things in the voicemail to my husband like, well, I'm going to get you arrested, you know, because of your child support, and telling me don't help your husband with his child support, and, you know, basically saying things about not liking my husband. Basically the truth coming out, him finally speaking the truth. We already knew how he felt because of his loyalty to that family, but him actually speaking it. So I already knew that I was done. So when he got out, of the hospital, you know, I actually called, like, he kept telling me he's going to get out or whatever. And the day that he got out, I want to say he called me, or either I called up there and he told me, yeah, I'm leaving. You know, my wife is picking me up. And I'm like, whoa, okay. So all this stuff about, you know, not going back there, and she has him on house arrest and this and that. Now all of a sudden, he wasn't supposed to come back there till after June 16th. It's not even June 16th yet. But now all of a sudden, he got this check coming. I think this was like the next day the check was going to drop. This was like Monday. The check was going to drop Tuesday. So now all of a sudden, he can come to her house, even with this restraining order and this house arrest thing. Because at first, that was the thing. Oh, he couldn't come there, you know, because of that reason. But now all of a sudden, he's welcome there, right? But whatever. So I'm not going to say nothing. So the next time he calls me, the following, I think later on that day or the next day, I'm like, okay, maybe he's calling to at least thank me. I didn't want anything from him, but, you know, it just, you know, oh, thanks for looking out for me. Thanks for caring for me. I appreciate it. When nobody else will look out for me. No. First thing he says is, what time can I come over there so I can get my things from you? And I'm like, well, we're going out that way today anyways, because, you know, we're going to go grocery shopping or whatever. And he just was kind of making excuses. I could tell he didn't want us to stop over there. Like I said, we're not welcome there. But I was just going to stop, you know, like right outside the house or whatever, give him his stuff and go. But he was just trying to make excuses for us, you know, like, what time? So I called, like, okay, we're like on the way right now. So he comes out, you know, for a couple seconds and grabs his things or whatever. But then later on that day, he calls me, and I can tell, like, he basically was saying him and the lady got into an argument. She was mad that we stopped by outside in front of the garage to give him his coat, his hat, his socks, and that $200 that the man gave him. And she was angry about that. And basically, since he's in the middle of an argument with her, like I said, he would do, I have this in other testimonies, he would do this. He would get into an argument with them, and then he would call me and take it out on me instead of talking to the rightful person. So he calls me and he's like, oh, well, maybe my grandchildren will get to see each other before I die. Now he's talking about my husband's child that he has with my dad's so-called stepdaughter and my children. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Because my husband, first of all, he lived with that child until that child was about like 6 or something. And then when we got together, she was like, the baby mom was like, oh, you're dead to us. You'll never see your child again. You'll never talk to her again. And by her being so young, you know, she don't have her phone or social media or nothing like that. So, and if you watch the other testimonies, you'll see how my husband's family participated in keeping him from his child as well as everyone around him. So we're telling my dad, like, what are you talking about? He's been trying to see his child. Then my dad makes an excuse. Well, oh, they're going to Wisconsin Dells this weekend. They're not going to be here. I said, he's been trying to get into contact with this child for like the last 5-6 years. They've been going to Wisconsin Dells. They've been busy every weekend. And then he's just like, you know, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to argue. I said, you don't got to talk about that. You don't got to argue with me. But you're not going to call my phone talking crazy. And then when I say what I want to say, now you always want to run and jump up off the phone. I'm like, no, it's not going to work like that. So, you know, I just gave him his stuff. And, you know, I had already gave him his stuff. So I'm like, okay, well, we really don't have nothing else to talk about at this point. You know what I mean? So he tried to tell me on the phone, I think this was before he went to the hospital. He tried to tell me on the phone, like, oh, well, you know, you can come to the house. You can come to the house and my stepdaughter and y'all can sit there with the kids or whatever, but your husband can't come. You know, he can't even come in the house. He's not welcome in the house. We don't even want him sitting outside the house. Just tell him to go somewhere and then come back later. So we're seeing how they truly feel. And I'm thinking in my mind, like, okay, the same mess that his family, you know, partook in to keep him away from his child. It's like, you know, my dad is crazy if he think I'm finna sit there with them. I don't need to see his child. That's between him. If anything, he need to see his child that he created. It has nothing to do with me. And the fact that they thought that it would be important enough for me to go in there and sit there with his child, that's just because they want to see my kids. Like, no, you're not seeing my kids. I'm not sitting in here. Ain't no friends, ain't no nothing. Because if I sit in there, I'm going to tell all their asses off about how they've been keeping this child you know, from the Father for all these years. So it was nothing for me to say whatsoever. I had nothing to say. So, you know, I'm not going to make this video long, like this update too long. I pretty much already said what I had to say, which was just, you know, I just want to let you guys know what happened out of the hospital. You know, that was his last call, his last warning. He did not choose wisely, you know. He did not choose to take that as a rehabilitation period and, you know, a moment of clarity for him to say, you know what, this situation has woken me up, and I am going to get myself together. I am going to get out of here. I can see that this person's bad and I need to move forward. Instead of him doing that, he went back to them. He called me before we stopped talking and said how he bought them new bed sets and refurnished the house again. You know, they're just using him because before he went to the hospital, you know, he decided that it would be a good idea to bash us, to say bad things to us, how we didn't have nice furniture, how we didn't have nice things, and he can buy us all these things. We told him, no, we don't want you to buy us anything. We're just concerned about getting you to the hospital. So I guess when he got out, he was mad that we didn't accept his stuff, and he was like, oh, I bought them this, I bought them that. We're like, no problem. Now, this update is so fast because after I gave him these things, that's the last time I ever saw him. And the last time I spoke to him probably was like a day or two after that. And it's been a year since I did this update. And at this point, it's also been a year since I've spoken to him. Here, baby. It's also been a year since I've spoken to him. And I just want to say my life has been great. I don't talk to anybody in my dad's family, mom's family, you know, moving forward, focusing on myself. So if something happens to him, that's not my responsibility. I've done all I can do. And I'm hoping that these testimonies help someone get some type of awareness. Just letting you know that you don't love somebody more than yourself. You don't love somebody to death to that extent. Meaning, like, when someone's doing you wrong and don't love you, don't care about you, you have to give up, because that situation was extremely stressful to me. I was pregnant during that time. I think I only had like 3 months left in my pregnancy. I was stressed, you know, it was affecting my sleep. I was worried. So what I learned from that situation is you can't worry about a person who's not worried about themselves. I can't worry about a grown man because he was never that stressed and worried about me when I was in the hospital. My husband was always caring for me, always there for me, caring for the children when I was gone. My father didn't care about that. You see how he felt at the end of the day, how he chose their side and the loyalty where it lies with them. So I just want to say that I'm done. I'm done with him. He got his warning. I gave his warning. Creator gave his warning, source, everything. So that's just the update. He chose to go back with that family. He's back with that family. He's suffering. He's having problems. That's not my business. And I'm happy. I'm free from talking to him, and as well as my narcissist mother. I no longer consider either one of them as parents. I call them donors if I have to address them for people to understand. But I do not have parents. My only family is of our household. I'm happy that way. I feel free. I encourage everybody to do the same. If someone does not love you, you let them go. I don't care what the relation is. Do not try to force things that do not fit. And I hope, if anything else, this gave some kind of awareness also to the mental health community, those who may be dealing with things like bipolar 1 and schizophrenia and things like that. These are just the titles that the doctors use. My family and I, and others, of course, we know that it's your spiritual gifts that are not, you don't know how to properly use them yet because of where we grew up at. They're demonized, and no one's really teaching how to properly use our spiritual gifts. So that's what they really are. But it is true that in those times, not knowing how to use those gifts, you do need somebody to care for you. Make sure that you don't walk into the street. Make sure that you don't get hurt, kidnapped, lost, or, you know, in bad circumstances. So that is true, because even in our ancient days with shamans and things like that, they still were cared for by the people in the village. They weren't just left off to fend for by themselves. People did give them food, help them to sleep, and help them to focus and understand to come back on this timeline when they would travel to different timelines. So you can look up shamans, because that's really what it is. People who are labeled as like bipolar and things like that, and learn and tap into yourself about your spiritual gifts and meditate and seek within to figure out exactly whatever trauma you have to get through in order to get to tap into your spiritual gifts and truly use them fully. I thank you for listening. Like I said, I'm no longer associated with my dad or anybody else. So anything you need, if you know me personally, you're going to have to contact them directly. For those of you who watch my page who do know me, who do know my dad, I have mostly everybody blocked. So let's continue to keep it that way. If something happens to my dad or anything that's going on in his life, do not contact me. Do not let me know. It's not my business. That's a grown man. Anything he got going on, take it to his wife and his daughter. I used to say stepdaughter, but that day he showed his loyalty and he treats this woman more like a daughter than his own daughter. So talk to his daughter, talk to his wife, talk to his grandkid, not my children. They're not his grandchildren. He doesn't talk to them or associate with them. But his daughter's daughter, his daughter's children that he treats like grandchildren, speak to them and not me. We have no association, no affiliation. I had one brother who was murdered that would have probably linked me to those parents. My brother is no longer in this realm anymore, so we have no connection. I have no connection to those parents in any way and no reason to connect. So I'd encourage everybody to take care of themselves, take care of your mental health, do what's best for you, work out any trauma, any karma, any things you got going on, and protect yourself at all costs. Protect your mental health at all costs, and be sure to instill self-love in yourself daily. So that's all I got. Peace, aloha, shalom, assalamu alaikum.